All right, let's dive into the latest news coming out of the Las Vegas Raiders camp. The team has just made a move that's sure to have fans talking. They've signed tight end Ian Thomas. Now, before we get into the specifics of the signing, let's break it down and figure out what this means for the Raiders and their current roster, particularly in terms of Michael Mayer's role. If you're a Raiders fan, you know that these kinds of moves often have some deeper implications, and this one is no different. Now, the details are still coming in, but here's what we know so far. Ian Thomas has been signed to the team, and while the exact terms of the contract aren't public just yet, we can make a pretty educated guess. Given his career so far, it's likely a one-year deal, probably at or near the veteran minimum. This is typical for a depth signing, especially for a player like Thomas, who's coming off a stint with the Carolina Panthers. He's been in the league for 7 years, drafted back in 2018 in the 4th round, and spent his entire career with the Panthers. But let's be clear, Thomas isn't being brought in to be a game changer. His role, at least initially, will be more about adding depth and providing a solid blocking presence. When you look at the Raiders' tight end depth chart, it's clear that Thomas is not coming in to steal the spotlight from any of the bigger names. Brock Bowers, for example, is the clear tight end one. He's going to be the guy getting the bulk of the targets. But what about Michael Mayer? Well, this is where things get a little interesting. Mayer, who was drafted in 2023, had a pretty solid rookie season. However, this offseason, there's been a lot of chatter around him, especially after the Raiders went ahead and drafted Bowers, a move that could be seen as sending a message to Mayer. So what's the deal with Michael Mayer? From the outside looking in, it's easy to see why Mayer might feel like his role could be in jeopardy. After all, he was drafted in the 2nd round of 2023, but now the Raiders are bringing in another tight end in Bowers, and they've added depth with a player like Thomas. This can't be the most comforting situation for a young guy who's trying to carve out his place in the league. But here's the thing. While it might seem like the Raiders are bringing in competition for Mayer, I don't think this move is a negative one for him. In fact, it might be just the opposite. This signing could be the Raiders telling Mayer, hey, we still believe in you. You're going to be our tight end too. Think about it. Michael Mayer has the talent to be a solid contributor to this offense, but he needs to be given the chance to prove it. Last year, there were rumors swirling around the possibility of the Raiders trading him, but that never materialized. Instead, they went out and signed Ian Thomas, who is a solid blocking tight end, but not someone who's likely to take many targets away from Mayer. If anything, this move solidifies Mayer's position as the tight end too. The team is giving him the opportunity to continue developing without feeling like his job is on the line. It's about providing support, not putting pressure on him. Now, as for Ian Thomas, let's not forget what he brings to the table. The guy is a big-bodied tight end, standing at 6'4". While he might not be the biggest or most dominant player in terms of receiving numbers, his ability as a blocker is where he shines. The Raiders have been looking for a reliable third tight end who can help in the blocking game, especially when it comes to supporting the offensive line and helping in run protection. And that's where Thomas fits in. If you're a team looking to get a little more physical in the trenches, Thomas is a good fit for that role. He's not going to be out there catching 10 passes a game, but if you need him to help protect the quarterback or clear the way for running backs, he's more than capable. This signing also provides some much-needed depth at the tight end position. The Raiders have been trying to build a strong, well-rounded roster, and bringing in a player like Thomas gives them more flexibility. You want a guy who can block well, especially when you've got a young quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, who might need that extra protection in the pocket. Additionally, with running backs like Josh Jacobs in the mix, a solid blocking tight end becomes an even more valuable asset. So while this signing might not make headlines for its flashiness, it's one that makes a lot of sense from a practical standpoint. But now, let's talk about the relationship between Ian Thomas and the Raiders coaching staff. Whenever a move like this happens, it's always worth asking, is there a connection between this player and someone on the coaching staff? In this case, there's a significant link to the Raiders coaching staff, specifically to Nate Carroll, who's currently the assistant quarterbacks coach for the Raiders. Carroll was with the Carolina Panthers last season, so it's not a stretch to think that he could have had a hand in bringing Thomas to the Raiders. There's always a bit of a pattern with the Raiders this offseason when it comes to signings like this. particularly with players who have ties to current coaching staff members. Whether it's a former player or someone they've worked with in the past, the Raiders front office seems to be prioritizing familiarity and comfort in their roster moves. In this case, Nate Carroll's connection to Thomas makes a lot of sense. Now, some of you might be wondering, what does this mean for the bigger picture? Well, it's clear that the Raiders are trying to build a more well-rounded team. They're not just focused on star power. They're looking at all the little pieces that will help the team succeed. Ian Thomas is part of that equation. He might not be the most glamorous signing, but he's a solid depth piece that can fill a specific need on this roster. He's not going to come in and steal the spotlight, but he's going to provide value in areas where the team needs it. So what's the bottom line here? Ian Thomas is a depth signing for the Raiders, one that adds some needed experience and reliability to the tight end room. He's not going to be a star, but he's a player who can contribute in meaningful ways. For Michael Mayer, this move shouldn't be seen as a threat to his spot on the team, but rather as an opportunity for him to continue to grow and develop into the tight end the Raiders envision him becoming. And with the coaching connection between Nate Carroll and Thomas, it's clear that the Raiders are bringing in players they believe will fit in well with their system. In the end, every move the Raiders make this offseason is a part of the bigger picture of building a team that can contend. Ian Thomas might not be the flashiest addition, but he's a smart one, and it's a move that could pay off as the season progresses. As we continue to break down the impact of the Ian Thomas signing for the Raiders, it's important to take a closer look at how this fits into the broader picture of the team's overall strategy for the upcoming season. This isn't just about bringing in a veteran tight end to fill out the depth chart. It's about making sure the Raiders have the right balance of experience, youth, and versatility at every position. While we've already established that Thomas won't be the focal point of the offense, his role could end up being more critical than it might first appear. For one, the Raiders are clearly placing a lot of emphasis on their tight end position this offseason. They've brought in Brock Bowers, who is viewed as one of the most exciting prospects at the position. Bowers is expected to be the tight end one, and he's going to get a majority of the targets, especially in the passing game. But with the addition of Ian Thomas, the team is making sure that they're covered in all areas, particularly in terms of blocking. If you think about it, when a team has a solid tight end that can contribute in the passing game and also provide additional support as a blocker, it gives the offensive scheme a lot more flexibility. Thomas won't be out there running intricate routes or catching passes left and right, but he'll give the Raiders' offensive line and running backs an extra layer of support when they need it the most. This is a smart move by the Raiders front office, and it shows that they're trying to build a team that can not only compete, but also dominate in multiple facets of the game. One thing that's been evident over the past few years is that the NFL is a league that's increasingly dependent on versatility. Teams are looking for players who can do more than just one thing well. The Raiders seem to have embraced this idea wholeheartedly, and the signing of Ian Thomas is a reflection of that. By bringing in a player who specializes in blocking, they're ensuring that their offense has the tools it needs to succeed regardless of the situation. At the same time, the Raiders are also making it clear that they still have faith in their young guys, like Michael Mayer. It's been a rocky road for Mayer so far, with rumors swirling about a potential trade and some uncertainty about his role going forward. But if we look at this signing in context, it actually strengthens Mayer's position on the team. The Raiders aren't going out and signing a flashy, high-profile tight end to compete with Mayer. They're adding a depth piece who fills a very specific need. This move should reassure Mayer that the team wants him to succeed. He's the future at the position, and Thomas's presence isn't about pushing him out. It's about supporting the overall growth of the team. It's also worth considering how Thomas's signing plays into the bigger picture of the Raiders' offensive line. The team has been focused on bolstering its line over the past few seasons, and adding a player like Thomas, who's known for his blocking ability, can only help in that regard. Whether it's providing extra protection for Jimmy Garoppolo or giving Josh Jacobs more room to work in the running game, a solid blocking tight end like Thomas is a valuable asset. In today's NFL, teams that can control the line of scrimmage have a significant advantage, and the Raiders are taking steps to make sure they're in that category. Another factor to consider is the role of Nate Carroll in this move. As we mentioned earlier, Carroll's connection to Thomas through their time together in Carolina plays a key part in understanding why this signing makes sense. The Raiders have made a lot of moves this offseason that are linked to coaching connections, and this is another example of that strategy in action. Carroll, who's now with the Raiders, was previously with the Panthers, where he likely got a first-hand look at Thomas and his capabilities. When you have a coach vouching for a player, it can go a long way in securing a roster spot, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Carroll's familiarity with Thomas makes him a trusted figure in the organization, and it's no surprise that the Raiders would take a chance on a player that their assistant coach knows well. This isn't just about bringing in a guy who's familiar with the coaching staff, though. The Raiders also seem to be focused on creating a positive environment in the locker room. A player like Thomas, who's been around for a while and has experience with a variety of different quarterbacks and offensive systems, brings a level of stability and leadership to the group. In a season where the Raiders are looking to find their identity and build towards the future, having veterans like Thomas in the locker room can be an invaluable resource for the younger players, particularly the tight ends. There's always value in having players who can provide mentorship and guidance, especially when you have a young core of players who are still learning the ropes of the NFL. Let's not forget, too, that this move is part of a larger trend we've seen from the Raiders this offseason, focusing on building a well-rounded team with depth at every position. From the offensive line to the defensive secondary, the Raiders have been making sure they have the right players in place to compete at a high level. Ian Thomas may not be the biggest name in free agency, but his signing is an example of the team's commitment to ensuring that they have the right mix of players to fill all the necessary roles. Looking ahead, the Raiders still have a lot of work to do in terms of finalizing their roster, but this move is a step in the right direction. With Thomas on board, they have added another layer of depth to their tight end room, and the competition for snaps will only make everyone better. It's clear that the Raiders are committed to creating a balanced offense, one that can threaten opponents in multiple ways. Whether it's through the air with Bowers and Mayer, or on the ground with a strong offensive line and solid blocking from players like Thomas, the team is building a roster that has the potential to compete with the best. In conclusion, while the signing of Ian Thomas may not have the same headline-grabbing impact as some of the Raiders' other moves this offseason, it's an important one. It shows that the team is thinking strategically, adding depth and versatility to their roster where it counts. For Michael Mayer, it's a sign that the Raiders believe in him and want him to be a key part of the offense moving forward. And for Ian Thomas, it's an opportunity to prove that he can still contribute at a high level, even if it's in a more limited role. The Raiders' roster is taking shape, and this signing is just one piece of the puzzle. As the team prepares for the upcoming season, they are building a squad that's designed to compete on all fronts, and moves like this are a big part of that. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Maxx Crosby's future with the Las Vegas Raiders is shrouded in mystery, and the rumors surrounding his potential departure have taken the NFL by storm. With every passing week, the whispers grow louder, igniting fierce speculation among fans and analysts alike. Crosby, who has been a force to be reckoned with on the field, appears to be at a pivotal crossroads in his career, and the question on everyone's mind is, will he stay, or is it time for the defensive end to chart a new course? Crosby's career has been nothing short of spectacular. His breakout season in 2023, where he racked up an impressive 14.5 sacks and 23 tackles for loss, cemented his place as one of the NFL's premier defenders. His performance earned him a well-deserved Pro Bowl selection and a spot in the NFL's top 100 players of 2024. Yet, as the Raiders continue to rebuild, Crosby's status within the organization has become more uncertain. Can the Raiders afford to let such a vital player slip away, or will they do whatever it takes to secure his future in Las Vegas? The injury-plagued 2024 season has only added fuel to the fire. Despite suffering an ankle injury early in the season, Crosby remained a key contributor for the Raiders, earning AFC Defensive Player of the Week honors for his standout performances. However, with reports suggesting that he may require surgery and miss the remainder of the season, questions about his long-term health and commitment to the Raiders have surfaced. Will this injury influence his decision to leave, or will it only strengthen his resolve to stay and finish what he started? Off-the-field dynamics also play a crucial role in this equation. While Crosby has consistently expressed his love for the Raiders and their fan base, the lure of a fresh start with a championship-contending team could prove irresistible. The league's top teams, looking to bolster their defenses, may view Crosby as the missing piece to their puzzle. The prospect of joining a Super Bowl contender could be a tempting offer, especially for a player of Crosby's caliber. As the speculation intensifies, one thing is certain. Maxx Crosby's future with the Las Vegas Raiders is a story that will keep fans on the edge of their seats. Will the defensive juggernaut remain in silver and black, or is his time with the Raiders coming to an end? As we await more updates, the only thing we know for sure is that this is a saga that will continue to unfold, one rumor at a time. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.